She saw the crows first. Circling. Slow. Not cawing. Just waiting. Black dots spinning in the pale dawn sky above the ridgeline, where even the coyotes hadn't dared yet. Nora Bell narrowed her eyes. Her feet were bare, the frost biting into her soles as she stepped out past the doorframe. In her arms, a pot of bitterroot stew sloshed gently. Behind her, two small faces pressed to the cabin window, one with a wooden sword clutched tight, the other holding a ragged cloth doll missing an arm. The smoke from last night's fire had long gone cold. But what rose over the hills now wasn't cloud, it was ash. Thin, slow drifting, and something darker lay still on the trail beyond it. Nora didn't flinch when her son Bo said, "Mama, is that a body?" She didn't answer. She handed the stew to Letty, wiped her hands on her apron, and started walking toward the rise. She moved like someone trained to expect danger, eyes tracking the ground, ears listening for more than wind. This wasn't the first time she'd found someone half dead on a trail. But the last time, it had been her husband. And they had buried him behind the cottonwoods with no one to weep but a girl and a newborn. The thing at the ridge wasn't dead. Not quite. He was face down, skin burned along the shoulder, blood soaked into the dust beneath him. But the coat he wore, though shredded, spoke of money. Thick leather with silver trim. His boots had beads, the stitching native. His wrists were cut where something had bound them too tight, too long. Nora crouched beside him. Her shadow crossed his back like a cross over a grave. She took a slow breath. The sun hadn't risen far enough for the light to show his face clear, but she could see enough. Copper skin, a strong jaw, black hair plastered to his cheek with sweat and soot. He smelled of smoke and iron. Of fire too recent to be an accident. Bo had followed her, stick in hand like a sword. "Can I poke him?" "No." "Is he dead?" Nora reached to the man's neck. No pulse. Then, yes. A flutter. A thread. Like the last leaf before the fall. "He's not yet," she said. Letty had come too, quiet behind Bo. "Can we bury him, Mama?" Nora didn't answer. She looked down at the man. And then she looked past him, to the smoke. To the horizon, to the long road behind, and the one she'd tried to forget. "No," she whispered. "He don't belong to the dirt yet." She dragged him herself, one hand under his arms, the other pulling from behind. He was tall, heavy with unconscious weight. Every foot forward left a streak in the dust like someone trying to erase his past. Inside the cabin, the fire was relit. Water boiled. Her hands moved like memory, grinding leaves, stitching cloth, heating iron. Letty stared from the corner, doll clutched to her chest. Bo asked, "Is he bad?" "Don't matter," Nora said. "He's broken. That comes first." She cut away his coat. His shoulder was torn, bullet wound, she guessed, with a splintered rib beneath. Around his neck, a thin strip of braided leather held a token, bone carved with two lines crossing. She paused. Comanche. Or maybe half. She'd seen the mark before, when her old neighbor's daughter married a scout who left and never returned. His eyes flickered then. For a second. Unfocused. Then closed. She worked in silence. At night, the wind picked up. The cabin creaked low, as if holding breath. Bo and Letty were asleep, curled under a patchwork quilt near the hearth. The man still burned with fever. Nora kept changing the cloth on his brow, muttering prayers she didn't quite believe in anymore. Then he spoke. One word. Garbled. Not English. She leaned close. "What?" His hand jerked. Knocked the basin. Eyes wide now. Half seeing, half dreaming. He reached out suddenly, grabbed her wrist. His grip was weak, but full of panic. "Don't send me back," he breathed. Nora didn't pull away. "Back where?" He stared at her, eyes like dark glass, filled with ghosts she didn't recognize yet. "Don't let them find me." And then he collapsed again. She didn't sleep that night. She sat by the fire, one hand on her rifle and the other on her knee, watching the wind make shadows on the wall. In the morning, the crows were gone. But hoofprints led to the well. Fresh ones. Not hers. Not Beau's. Someone else had been watching. The third morning, he sat upright. Not fully, not without pain, but enough to lean on one elbow and sweep the cabin with wary eyes. He hadn't spoken yet, not a word since the fever broke. Nora noticed how he studied the door first, then the rifle over the mantel, then her. He didn't ask where he was. He didn't ask who saved him. He simply said, voice raw as gravel, "Where are my boots?" Nora didn't flinch. "By the fire. Ain't worth much anymore." He nodded once, then pressed a hand to his bandaged ribs. Beau peeked from behind a stool, wide-eyed. Letty offered him a piece of stale cornbread without a word. He took it with slow fingers, nodded again. "No thanks. Just caution." They all lived like animals halfway tamed. She poured him water. He drank without blinking. When he finally spoke again, it was quieter. "You stitched me." "I did." "You know how to patch a man." "I know how to keep something breathing." "That's different." He gave a slight smile, cracked at the edges. "You got a name?" She hesitated. "Nora Bell." He looked at the children. "Yours?" She nodded. He studied Beau a little longer, then looked down at the cornbread. "I'm Tamaqua. Comanche. Half. That the half that got you hunted?" He didn't answer, but something behind his eyes sparked. Not anger, not shame. Something harder, like a flint about to strike. That night, he stood, barely, and helped split kindling. He grimaced with every movement, but didn't stop until the pile reached his knees. "You don't have to prove nothing," Nora said, arms crossed. "Not to you. To me." She didn't argue. When the kids slept, he sat by the fire, his voice low. "They thought I was dead. Stripped me. Burned my wagon. Took my land papers. Said I had no right to own land with blood like mine." Nora stirred the stew without looking up. "I didn't run," he said. "I crawled." "From where?" 5 miles. Maybe more. Don't remember. Just remembered the dirt. And the sky. And wanting not to die in front of those damn birds. She handed him a spoon. "Well, you got stubbornness. That counts." The next day, he helped patch the roof with Beau, who proudly showed him how to whistle through a bent reed. Letty braided grass strands into a little crown and set it on Tamaqua's head. He didn't remove it. But the piece was brittle, like river ice before spring. At noon, a rider approached. Nora saw him first, a trader named Jeb Caro, mouth full of tobacco and eyes sharp as rusted nails. She stepped outside before he reached the porch. "Didn't expect to find folks out here," he drawled, voice too casual. She kept her shotgun rested against her hip. "We ain't lookin' for company." He dismounted slow. "Word is, a half-blood Comanche killed 2 white ranchers near the ridge. Fancy one. Carried a silver clasp and a fine saddle. You seen anyone wandering?" She shook her head. "Ain't seen nothing but buzzards." Jeb looked past her shoulder. "Kids yours?" "They are." "Brave thing, a woman like you out here alone." She didn't blink. "World's easier without men." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "If you do see anything strange, best not to keep it to yourself. There's reward money." She stepped forward. "I don't sell what don't belong to me." That night, the kids slept restlessly. Beau had a nightmare, something about fire and wolves. Letty curled against her brother, whispering, "He's not a bad man." Nora found Tamaqua outside, sharpening a broken knife on a flat stone. "I should go," he said. "Tonight. Before they come back." She crossed her arms. "So you'll run again." He looked at her, anger flickering in his jaw. "I'm trying to keep you safe." "Then stay," she said. "Or die somewhere else. But don't leave them wondering if every stranger at the door is another one you brought." He stared at the blade in his hand, then tossed it into the fire. "I don't know how to stay," he admitted. "Not really." "Then start with silence," she said. "Start with fixing things. Start with not needing to be more than alive." Later, as the fire dimmed, she saw him reach for the token at his neck, the bone talisman. He held it between his fingers like it hurt him. "What does it mean?" she asked. He didn't speak for a long time. "Name of my mother," he finally said. "Carved it myself. I lost her when I was 12. I thought if I kept the name close, I'd never forget her face." Nora didn't reply, but she understood. The room was quiet, except for the fire's crackle and Beau's small breathing. Then Tamaqua whispered, almost to himself, "They'll come again, with more men. I can feel it in my teeth." She didn't answer, but she moved her rifle closer to the bed. And in the cold silence that followed, the name he'd carved seemed to flicker in the firelight, unreadable but remembered. By sunrise, Nora knew it was time. She didn't speak. She just stared at the boot prints near the well, deeper than hers, with spur marks on the heel. 2 sets, maybe 3. The cold had frozen the earth hard enough to preserve the shape. One man had a limp. The other walked like he owned the world. She turned back to the cabin. Inside, Beau was feeding bark chips to the fire and telling Letty about eagles. Tamaqua sat with his back to the door, stitching his own torn shirt with thread from Nora's basket. "They found us," she said quietly. He looked up, still holding the needle. "How many?" "Don't know. But they came close enough to drink from the well." His jaw flexed. He tied off the stitch and stood, still stiff from the wound. "Then I go. Take them and run." She shook her head. "No more running." "You've got children, Nora." "I've got a rifle." He started to argue, but she raised a hand. "If they want a body, they'll find one. I decide if it's mine or yours." Tamaqua looked toward the horizon. Already, a crow perched on the fence post, watching. He moved fast after that, quiet, efficient. Helped gather supplies, packed what food they could carry. Gave Letty a polished river stone from his satchel. To Beau, he gave the carved feather from his necklace. "If anything happens," he said, "hide in the root cellar. You don't make a sound." Beau nodded, solemn as a soldier. As the sun crested the ridge, the riders came. 2 on horseback. 1 on foot with a crooked gait and a double-barreled shotgun. They didn't knock. Nora opened the door before they reached the porch, rifle resting casually against her shoulder. Her face was unreadable. The kids were already hidden. The footman grinned with 1 gold tooth. "Ma'am, mind if we water the horses?" "You already did." His grin faded. The man on the black horse stepped forward. Clean-shaven, long coat. The same trader, Jeb Caro. "I asked around," he said. "Seems a Comanche passed through here. Tall. Burnt up. Might be worth silver to return him. Ain't seen nobody like that." "You sure?" "Real sure." He dismounted slowly, eyeing the cabin. "Mind if we look around?" "I do mind." He studied her, calculating. "Lady," he said softly, "I don't want blood. I just want what don't belong to you. Then turn around and ride back to the hole you came from." The crooked footman raised his shotgun a little. That's when the door creaked behind them. Tamaqua stood in the doorway, rifle in one hand, eyes calm. His voice came steady. "She told you to leave." The third man, the younger one with a twitch in his hand, whirled, gun half drawn. A shot cracked. Dust flew near his boots. "You shoot, you miss," Tamaqua said. "I shoot, I don't." "Hell," Jeb muttered, turning. "You got a death wish, boy?" "No," Tamaqua replied. "I've just got nothing left to lose." The air thickened. The crows screamed overhead. And then the shotgun man yelled, lunging for the cellar door just beyond the fence. He'd seen the edge of a blanket tucked in. Nora fired. The first shot slammed into his leg, spinning him to the ground. Bo's voice rose from under the floor, muffled. The young one panicked, firing blind. Tamaqua moved fast, pain or no pain, diving across the porch and driving a blade into the boy's thigh. The gun dropped. A cry rang out. Jeb drew his pistol and fired once, missing Nora by an inch. She fired back. His hat flew off. He turned and ran, blood trailing from his side. Horse galloping. Gone. For a long second, nothing moved. Then Tamaqua slumped against the doorframe, blood on his side again. Not deep, but enough. Nora ran to him. "You fool." He laughed. "Told you. I don't run." She caught him before he fell. That evening, they buried the one who didn't make it. No prayers, no marker. Just silence and dust. The other boy they let go, limping after his boss, shame in his eyes. A warning to carry. Letty sat on the porch, legs swinging. Bo knelt beside Tamaqua, holding the carved feather like it was sacred. Inside, the stew boiled again. Tamaqua's hand shook as he lifted a spoon. "Still stubborn," he said. "So am I," Nora replied. He nodded. "Then maybe I'll stay." The next morning, Nora brought him the hammer and a plank of cedar. "If you stay," she said, "you build." He looked down at the wood. "What am I building?" She met his eyes. "Something that doesn't burn this time." Bo ran past them chasing a chicken, laughing. Letty followed, singing something she made up. Tamaqua watched the children, then the horizon. For once, no smoke rose. He picked up the hammer. They say a house stood there once, tall and plain, with a porch that faced the morning sun. No gold was ever found on that land. But the woman and the man who lived there, they made something worth more. And no one came hunting again. Which city are you watching our video from? Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you.